The Forsaken Heir. Episode 74. Seeing that Tanaka Koichi was quite on the road, Charlie's expression was slightly relieved, and he said, "Tanaka, leave me a contact information, I may have something to find you in the future for." Koichi Tanaka immediately took out a business card and handed it to Charlie respectfully. "Mr. Charlie, this is the business card. Please accept it." Charlie nodded, took the business card from him, and put it in his pocket. Tanaka bowed slightly to Charlie and said, "Mr. Charlie, then I will leave first." After that, he left the meeting room. Ito Yuhako's two personal bodyguards can only flee hurriedly, clutching the broken arm like the broken arm heroes. There was dead silence in the meeting room. Everyone looked at Charlie and Ichiro with anxiety, and didn't know what fate was waiting for them next. Ichiro cleared his throat at this time and said, "I tell you, as the legal heir of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, I have 100% decision-making power over Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, and the equity transfer agreement I signed also has 100% legal effect. So now Kobayashi Pharmaceutical is already a subsidiary of JX Pharmaceutical, if you still want to make money here to support your family." At this time, some people questioned, "Before the old president gave us 30% of the shares of the family executives, now you give 90% of the shares to others, how to protect our interests?" Ichiro said coldly, "In the future, you can get 3% of the income from my 10% shares. I can assure you of this. 30% becomes 3%. Someone questioned indignantly, "How can we support our family after shrinking so much?" "Yes. Isn't this killing us?" "Yes. We will starve to death sooner or later if this continues." Ichiro did not expect that after playing Masayoshi, there were so many people against him. At the bottom of his heart, he could not help but secretly said, "This matter is really tricky. I sacrificed 90% to Charlie. I was forced to use this 90% of the shares in exchange for freedom. Otherwise, don't know that I will be placed under house arrest in that kennel. When will it happen? But these people will certainly not be willing to sacrifice 90% of their own interests." Charlie said in a cold voice at this time, "If you can't accept Kobayashi's proposal, then go to the Human Resources Department to go through the resignation procedures immediately. Let us resign?" Someone sneered, "The entire R&D, production, promotion, and sales of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals are all done by us. If we leave, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals will immediately be paralyzed. All of the many production bases in the country will all be in chaos, then you will just wait for bankruptcy." Charlie smiled and asked him, "This friend, what are you responsible for at Kobayashi Pharmaceutical?" The man said proudly, "I am in charge of R&D. I am the head of the R&D department. Kobayashi's Vicin was developed by me and Mr. Jiro. Without me, the entire R&D of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical will be suspended." Someone echoed, "Yes. If Makawa Kobayashi leaves Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, then the entire Kobayashi Pharmaceutical will completely lose its ability to innovate." Charlie nodded and smiled and said, "Oh, that's great. I was thinking on the way here. After merging Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, I must make drastic reforms to Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. The first department to be cut down is the R&D department. Because the R&D department of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals is worthless in my eyes, it is rubbish. Makawa Kobayashi angrily shouted, I am a postdoctoral fellow majoring in biopharmaceuticals at the University of Tokyo and one of the top pharmaceutical experts in Japan. The department I lead is the strongest among Japanese pharmaceutical companies. You dare to say that I am rubbish? Charlie said disdainfully. As for the Kobayashi Vicin you developed, at least 80% of the prescriptions are stolen from ancient Chinese prescriptions, and the remaining 20% is a little improvement of your own. Obviously, it is plagiarism, and it is said that it is self-developed, and calling you garbage is an insult to the word garbage. Objectively speaking, as a developed country, Japan has indeed made high achievements in many fields. However, in terms of their medicine, in addition to Western medicine, almost all of the remaining line is copied from traditional medicine from elsewhere. Among them, Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, Oda Pharmaceutical, and Daipen Pharmaceutical are models. They search for prescriptions from traditional medicine classics. For example, Daipen Pharmaceutical once launched a so-called traditional medicine slimming granule, and the name they gave to this granule is actually the ancient Chinese genius Dr. Bianc. This shows that these pharmaceutical companies have no real accomplishments in Campo medicines, and they almost rely on plagiarism. This is also the fundamental reason why Charlie dismissed their R&D department. He has so many magical prescriptions on the 9 profound heavenly secrets, how can he use the R&D department of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical? After Makawa was ridiculed by Charlie, his cheeks were hot. Makawa Kobayashi knew exactly what happened to Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Indeed, as Charlie said, all the prescriptions of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical are basically derived from ancient Chinese medical books. So he felt blushing at this moment, but he didn't know how to refute Charlie's words. Charlie looked at Makawa, and said coldly, R&D personnel like you who can only plagiarize are of no value to me, so I announce that from now on, the R&D department of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals will be dissolved on the spot. Expelled, not leaving one. What? The people at Kobayashi Pharmaceutical were almost speechless in shock. Is this Charlie not too ruthless? We must know that there are more than 100 people in the R&D department of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Behind these more than 100 people, there are more than 100 families. Japan's social environment is that only one person in the family goes out to work, and most of the husbands go out to work, and the wife raises the family and the children at home. This situation has led to extremely high requirements for job stability in the families. Generally speaking, most Japanese can work for a job for decades until retirement. So for the Japanese, the most feared thing is unemployment. Makawa Kobayashi was also shocked. Although his previous income has not been low, his pressure is not small at all. Tokyo's housing prices are originally the highest in Asia. In the past few years, when Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals was booming, he bought a large apartment in the urban area and repaid bank loans every month, which was more than 200,000. In addition, he has 2 sons and a newly born daughter. Plus his wife, a family of 5, all depend on his income alone. Originally, his income from Kobayashi Pharmaceutical was very high, almost 700,000 a month, so his previous life was very comfortable. his wife and children also lived in the upper-class life. Daily consumption is also very luxurious. However, if he suddenly loses his job now, his family will immediately fall into a huge financial deficit, with a gap of at least RMB 500,000 per month. If they cannot find a job with more than RMB 500,000, the family will soon be overwhelmed. The nervous little Makawa hurriedly cried and pleaded, "Mr. Charlie, I am a high-end talent in the field of biological preparations. If you fire me, it must be a huge loss for you. I beg you, please keep me here. I will definitely work hard for you." Charlie said blankly, "I know you are begging me now. I'm sorry it's too late. You must go through the resignation procedures within today. Otherwise, the company will directly end the labor relationship with you." After that, Charlie looked at Isaac, "Kick him out for me." Isaac nodded, and immediately stepped forward, grabbing Kobayashi Makawa by the collar like a chicken, and dragging him out. At this moment, the others in the conference room finally realized the urgency of the situation. Charlie has already obtained the equity transfer of Ichiro, and he is now the new boss of the company, so he holds the power of life and death for everyone present at the scene. If you anger him, you will really be kicked out of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. As a result, everyone immediately stood on the spot like a quail, afraid to move, let alone speak. Charlie said at this time, "To tell you the truth, I only need to keep the production links for the entire Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, and all other links such as research and development, promotion, and sales can be eliminated." When this was outstanding, everyone was even scared to almost death. Charlie continued, "The medicinal effect of JX Vicin relies on word-of-mouth communication. The real word-of-mouth medicinal effect is more effective than any kind of advertisement, so there is no need to leave a special promotion department. The same is true for the sales department. JX Vicin is now in short supply, and dealers take the initiative to come to ask for goods, so there is no need for a special sales department to be responsible for sales in various regions. Therefore, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals promotion and sales departments are all dissolved on the spot, and all employees and leaders are not left." The scene was in an uproar. There are only a few major departments in total. As a result, all the other departments except the production department have to be killed now. Thousands of people will be unemployed. 3/4 of these Kobayashi Pharmaceutical executives at the scene will also lose their jobs. Moreover, the current global economic situation is not so good. The middle-aged crisis is very serious. There are many middle-aged people across the world who have suffered layoffs and eventually jumped to commit suicide. This shows how stressful middle-aged people are now. Most of the senior executives of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical at the scene were between 35 and 55 years old. They belonged to a typical middle-aged group and suddenly lost their jobs. To them, it was like the sky had fallen. The whole scene suddenly cried. Most Japanese, like Americans, have typical hedonism in their consumption philosophy. They don't like to save money but spend it as soon as they earn it. They are very keen on buying luxury houses, luxury cars, holiday villas, and even yachts. And their wives, not only do not usually make money, but also spend a lot of money, which intensifies the daily expenses of the family. Studies have shown that Japanese women have a high demand for luxury per capita. For brand name bags such as Chanel, LV, or Gui, 90 Japanese women will have at least one, not to mention other luxuries. Such a family, of course, is very smart when there is no accident, but once the family's income collapses, it will immediately be on the verge of bankruptcy. Many wealthy middle class immediately became negative equity holders after the economic crisis. They not only went bankrupt, but even became homeless. The reason is that they spend a lot of money but do not save money at all, resulting in poor risk resistance. This is also the case with most of these Kobayashi pharmaceutical executives. So Charlie's announcement that they are unemployed is almost equivalent to announcing that their family finances are bankrupt. Charlie has no sympathy for these wailing middle-aged people. Kobayashi will be his own company in the future and will never raise idle or worthless employees. Therefore, these people must be expelled, and expelled as soon as possible. At this moment, Ito Yuhiko was sitting in his car and cursing. Hiroshi Tanaka covered his face, and said with some nervousness and aggrievedness, "My president, Mr. Charlie is extremely powerful and acts extremely casually." At first, Yamamoto Kazuki only said the words "sick man of East Asia" in front of him, and he was beaten up. If you really intend to kill him, you still don't know what kind of lethality will erupt, so even if you hit me, I will remind you from the bottom of my heart, don't talk to this man, right? Ito Yuhiko's expression was extremely ugly. He knows Koichi Tanaka. This kid is loyal to him, even if he asks him to perform a cesarean on the spot, I am afraid he will not hesitate. Therefore, what Koichi Tanaka said must be from the heart. Thinking of this, Ito Yuhiko couldn't help but wondered, could it be that that kid is so powerful? Even so powerful that Hiroshi Tanaka felt for a while that the patriarch of the dignified Ito family couldn't even offend him? Yuhiko Ito frowned and asked Koichi Tanaka, "Then you tell me, what should I do now? Can't you really just give him the 4.5 billions for nothing? It must be impossible." Tanaka Koichi said, "Chairman, the 4.5 billion US we only paid Kobayashi Pharmaceutical were remitted through Ito Corporation's public account. The bank has clear remittance records. Kobayashi Pharmaceutical did not pay the corresponding shares for the 4.5 billion US. We can sue the court to demand that Kobayashi Pharmaceutical must return all the 4.5 billion US. We will definitely win this kind of lawsuit." Fighting a lawsuit? Ito Yuhiko's expression was very gloomy. "You let me Ito Yuhiko to fight with him? Go to the court and cry that this kid didn't pay me the money." Koichi Tanaka said seriously, "President, this is the safest way and the way with the highest success rate." "Impossible." Yuhiko Ito said with a cold face and angrily said, "If the outside world knew that a young Chinese man would dare to take 4.5 billion US and not return me, and I could not get him to return the money. Go to the court for help, where do I put my face? Where do I put the face of the entire Ito family? With this precedent, then other people can't ride on my neck and sh. Because the underground world is legal under the Japanese government, many Japanese families and consortia will get involved in the underground industry and even cultivate their own underground forces. The Ito family is not only Japan's top chaebol, but also the top power of Japan's underground world. There are three strongest underground organizations in Japan. The Yamaguchi group ranks first, and the Ito family ranks second. The underground world is a world where the weak is eaten by the strong, and the most important thing to survive in this world is to stay strong. For people in the underground world, sometimes it is not that they are cruel, but the law of survival forces them to be cruel. If you have been implementing the principle of whoever beats you, you will dare to fight hard, and over time, no one will dare to provoke you. But if you don't go back after being beaten once, but swallow your anger and admit that you are unlucky, then from this day onwards, everyone in this world can come to bully you. Moreover, there is another very important criterion for surviving in this world, that is, no external force can be used to solve problems. If a person in the underground world asks the police and the court for help, that person will immediately be disgusted and rejected by the entire underground world. Therefore, what ITO said, he couldn't get back the $4.5 billion through legal means. He had to let Charlie honestly and intact, and return the money to the ITO family's account. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and said, there are only two solutions to this matter. The first one is to let Wade, and honestly return the money to me, and this matter must not be disturbed. Everyone knows it. The second one is to kill him directly. Hiroshi Tanaka said with some anxiety, I am worried that Mr. Charlie will not agree to your request. Ito Hirohiko snorted coldly, no? If you don't agree, choose the second plan and kill him. Although Koichi Tanaka didn't know how powerful Charlie really was, he always felt that Charlie was extraordinary. And Charlie is not only strong, but also the key means seems to be very powerful. Otherwise, how could Ichiro give him all the shares of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical 90? Therefore, he felt that they should try to avoid the conflict with Charlie as much as possible, otherwise, he might cause a big trouble. So, he hurriedly changed the topic and said, Mr. President, I don't think you should worry about Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals $4.5 billion now. The money will definitely not run away. It's just a matter of coming back early or late. Don't forget, the Chinese East Cliff Sua family will be coming soon. Ito Yuahiko frowned and asked, did the Sua family say that the specific day has come? No. Tanaka Hiroshi said, they said they would come at any time. After all, the trip is a private jet, you can fly anytime you want. After speaking, Tanaka persuaded, my president, the Sua family is not only watching this opportunity, but also the Takahashi family. I heard that the Sua family came here this time. Choose one of the Takahashi family to be a partner. At this time, you must not make any extravagance. Yuhiko Ito gritted his teeth and nodded, and said, in this case, I will bear the wave of the kid named Wade, and you will keep an eye on him. If he does not leave Japan for the time being, then I will leave him alone. Take down the Sua family cooperation first. Thinking of the Sua family's cooperation, Ito's expression looked a little melancholic. Sitting in the car, he sighed and said with emotion, Koichi, in the past 10 years, the speed of our national economy has been relatively slow, so the strength of several top families, including our Ito family, has shrunk somewhat. And the successor is weak. Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly asked, my president, we once led the world in its development speed in the decades after the war, why hasn't it kept up with it in the past decade? Ito said with regret, there are many reasons for this lag in economic development. Firstly, because Japan's local resources and land have been very scarce. Secondly, because Japan has not made major innovations in the internet and high-tech fields in recent years. With that, Ito Yuhiko continued with emotion, you see, many Japanese companies that had advantages in various fields more than 10 years ago have gradually lost their original advantages in these years. Look at the previous companies such as Sony, Panasonic, Hitachi, and Toshiba. They are all in the world. I think that Sony's color TVs were the best in the world and sold all over the world. Sony Ericsson's mobile phones were also world-renowned. Panasonic and Hitachi's home appliances, and Toshiba's semiconductors are all top class in the world, but what about now? All are gradually declining. Most of the TVs in the world are produced in China, which are cheap, affordable, and cost-effective. The world's mobile phones are divided into two parts. The United States Apple occupies a large part, and the remaining large part is China's Huawei, Xiaomi, Vivo, and Oppo. What about Japanese mobile phones? Even South Korea's Samsung is absent, and it's already decadent. Koichi Tanaka couldn't help but feel frustrated. Mr. President, you are right. We in Japan have indeed completely lost many traditional advantages, especially in electronic products. Ito sighed, more than electronic products? In addition, Japan's steel industry was once the world's top. Our special steel, even the Americans have to look up, but because Kobe Steel was exposed to a long-term fraud scandal, and it plummeted. Originally, Japan's Shinkansen technology was the world's best. High-speed rail technology was invented by us. The strength was unique in the world. But who would have thought that China's high-speed rail would come to the top, so that our Japanese high-speed rail technology and the high-speed rail technology of Germany and France all decreased into the second rate in the world. Japan's Shinkansen has also lost a lot of overseas markets. Koichi Tanaka also kept sighing, we, the Ito family, hold different proportions of shares in the companies you mentioned. They are lonely, and our assets are shrinking. This is indeed a very serious problem. Yuhiko Ito hates that iron cannot be made into steel and said, not only that, but the most important thing is that our young people in Japan are seriously lacking in creativity as a whole. Look at China in the past few years. A large number of world-class internet companies have been born, such as Tencent, Alibaba, Taoxiao, JD.com and Pinduoduo, as well as DJI drones that account for more than 70% of the world's drone market. In contrast, Japan has never had an influential internet company in recent years. If we continue to develop like this, we will lose all our advantages. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded. In contrast, the top families in China, with the continuous development and progress of all walks of life, their wealth and influence are also increasing. They now have the ability to directly challenge Europe and the United States. They don't put Japanese companies in their eyes at all. That's it. Ito said with melancholy, before, they were still chasing us. As a result, in the blink of an eye, they surpassed us and chased the United States, but we were left behind by them. In the back of our heads, so that we now want to make a breakthrough in business, we have to turn back to please the Chinese family. It really responds to the old Chinese saying, 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi. Speaking of this, Ito Takehiko seriously said, because we have been stagnating and China has been developing rapidly, we now need to be firmly tied to China's top families. This time the Sui family's cooperation is right. For us, the significance is very important and should not be lost. Hiroshi Tanaka nodded in a hurry and blurted out, "President, please rest assured, I will definitely go all out." The Japanese economy has been sluggish in recent years. As Japan's top chaebol, the Ito family is constantly being weakened. Also confused with them, there is another big family in Japan, the Takahashi family. Both companies are now actively seeking breakthrough points, so they all pin their hopes on top Chinese families. As the top family in China, the influence of the Sui family has been continuously increasing in recent years, and with the rapid development of the Chinese economy, the strength of the Sui family has also been soaring. The focus of the Sui family in the past few years has been on maintaining and consolidating the domestic market. After consolidating its position as the first family in China, it has only begun to turn its attention overseas in the past 2 years. Therefore, in recent years, many Japanese families and chaebols are eager to develop in-depth cooperation with the Sui family. Over the past 10 years, China's import and export trade has continued to grow, shipping demand has increased, and port construction and development have been extremely fast. Now, China accounts for 7 of the world's top 10 ports in terms of throughput. Today's global trade relies very heavily on shipping. The vast majority of oil, ore, and various goods rely on ocean transportation. For example, the oil in entire East Asia and Southeast Asia is almost transported from the Middle East to ports by giant tankers. Entire East Asia and Southeast Asia's iron ore also depends on a large number of giant freighters, transported from Australia and Brazil. The Sui family has been in the port business for many years and has its own industries and shares in major domestic ports. It is now preparing to build Asia's largest shipping company and build Asia's largest shipping fleet, which can just match their domestic ports for resources complementary. In order to build the largest shipping fleet in Asia, the Sui family not only invested heavily on their own, but also prepared in-depth cooperation with consortiums in Japan and South Korea, giving them a certain share and letting them participate in depth. The reason for winning the consortium of Japan and South Korea is mainly because Japan and South Korea are both developed countries, and the demand for shipping is also very large. In addition, South Korea's Busan Port, Japan's Tokyo Port, and Yokohama Port are all established large ports in Asia. If the Sui family can also hold the resources of these ports, by that time, the shipping company headed by the Sui family can control the lifeline of entire East Asia to a certain extent, and the future profit space will be huge. The Japanese and South Korean consortiums are extremely excited about this news. They all hope to reach a cooperation with the Sui family and then get on the boat of the Sui family. In Japan alone, there are at least a dozen families and consortia that hope to cooperate with the Sui family. Among them, the strongest ones are the Ito family and the Takahashi family. In the afternoon, Charlie expelled nearly half of the entire staff of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals in a desperate manner. Originally, those people from Kobayashi Pharmaceutical were still thinking of using a strike to fight against Charlie, but he didn't expect that Charlie was not at all soft to them, and they all fired them, leaving none. This incident caused a huge earthquake in the Japanese business community. First of all, no one thought that Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, which is an excellently developed company, would change ownership. Now 90% of the shares have been transferred to a Chinese and it has become a Chinese company. Secondly, no one thought that after Kobayashi became a Chinese company, it would kill half of its employees in one go. In Japan, apart from bankruptcies, very few companies will suddenly expel so many people. Especially for manufacturing companies like Kobayashi Pharmaceutical with nearly 10,000 employees. If half of them are fired at once, 4,000 or 5,000 people will be fired. Moreover, except for the employees in the production positions, the R&D, promotion, and sales positions were all laid off. This operation method makes everyone feel incredible. In their view, this method of layoffs is tantamount to abolishing martial arts. But Charlie didn't care. What he needs is not the brand of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, nor the reputation and patents. What he needs is only the production line of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. As long as Kobayashi Pharma honestly produces JX Vicin for him according to his requirements, that is the greatest value of Kobayashi Pharmacy at this stage. The rest of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical that has not been expelled are all the people in charge of the production line. Immediately afterwards, Charlie immediately held a meeting at Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, appointing Liang as the general manager of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical and Ichiro as the deputy general manager. At the same time, Charlie also very clearly warned the remaining people in charge of the production line, "You people in charge of the production line will listen carefully. If you work for me honestly, listen to me and do things according to my instructions. Then your job can be retained and your income can be guaranteed. What I can promise you is to follow me honestly and I will make your income never lower than before." As he said, Charlie turned around and shouted sharply, "But if anyone among you dares to play with me carefully, dare to fight against me, then I am sorry, I will immediately kick you out of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical." When the people who stayed heard this, they immediately acted like tamed wild dogs, and honestly didn't dare to say more. When the group is angry, everyone wants to fight, because they feel that when everyone is tied together, Charlie must not dare to do anything to them. After all, he certainly does not want Kobayashi Pharmaceutical to be paralyzed suddenly. But what everyone didn't expect was that Charlie didn't play cards according to the routine at all. Before everyone was tied together and confronted him, he had already driven out half of the people. This immediately caused all the people who were evicted and their families into a serious economic crisis. Therefore, how can the remaining group of people dare to have any thoughts of making troubles, to keep the job and to ensure that the salary is not lower than before, which is to ensure that their family life will not be affected in any way and let them completely relax? At this time, how can they have the least thought of confrontation? As a result, a group of people quickly surrendered and decided to continue working for Charlie's pharmaceutical company. Charlie nodded in satisfaction, and said to Ichiro, "From today, you must cooperate with Liang to readjust all production plans, stop all production of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals before, and fully switch to production immediately, understand?" Ichiro hurriedly expressed his heartfelt words, "Mr. Charlie, don't worry, I will definitely cooperate with Mr. Liang." Liang said to Charlie at this time, "Mr. Charlie, Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals' production capacity is still very strong. If the production of JX Vicin is fully started, the demand for raw materials for JX Vicin will be huge. We have to do this in advance. Prepare, otherwise, once the production raw materials are insufficient, production capacity will be severely restricted. Charlie nodded and said, I will solve the raw material matter. When he said this, Charlie thought of Qin Gang, the lord of the Qin family far away in Oris Hill. The Qin family originally started from the medicinal material business. Moreover, Qin Gang was also very trusted by Charlie, so Charlie planned to hand over all the raw materials and medicinal materials business to him. After that, he immediately took out his cell phone and called Qin Gang. When the phone was connected, Qin Gang was eating. Seeing that it was Charlie's call, he respectfully said, Master, why made you call me at this moment? Charlie smiled and asked, Mr. Qin, I have something to ask you. Qin Gang said respectfully, Master, please do not hesitate to ask. Charlie said, what is the annual supply of medicinal materials in your Qin family? Qin Gang thought for a while, and said, last year, our Qin family made more than 200,000 tons of various medicinal materials and supplied them to more than 30 pharmaceutical companies across the country. Charlie snorted and asked, can you supply 1 million tons a year? Qin Gang exclaimed, 1 million tons. Master, 1 million tons is almost equal to the total annual output of botanical medicinal materials in the 3 eastern provinces. Our total annual output in the country is also more than 5 million tons, the largest medicinal material in the country. The company can produce 700,000 or 800,000 tons a year. Charlie asked him, then do you have the confidence to supply 1 million tons a year? Qin Gang said, Master, all the medicinal materials are in the hands of pharmaceutical farmers across the country. As long as I buy them, 1 million tons is not a big problem. The key is that I have no channels to digest so many medicinal materials. In fact, personally, I am eager to sell more medicinal materials, but the key is to find a strong enough next home. Charlie smiled and said, to be honest, I have taken over Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals in Japan. In the near future, all the production capacity of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals will serve me, and I am also going to continue to expand the production line. This year, I will consume 1 million tons of medicinal materials, which is not a big problem. I can trust you. If that is so nice of you to cooperate with me, then I will give you all the orders for the supply of 1 million tons of medicinal materials. As soon as Qin Gang heard this, he was so excited that he got up from the dining chair. He couldn't care about throwing the bowls and chopsticks to the ground, and said excitedly, wait, Master. What you said is true. Charlie smiled indifferently, when did Charlie tell you a lie? Qin Gang was immediately ecstatic, so excited that he couldn't add anything. He was excited and thought to himself, if Master can really digest 1 million tons of medicinal materials from the Qin family every year, it would be equivalent to 5 times the business volume of the Qin family. That way, isn't the Qin family's strength going to soar? And my dream of revitalizing the family can be easily realized. At this moment, he almost regarded Charlie as the reborn parent of the entire Qin family, and said excitedly, Master. Since you look down on Qin so much and are willing to pull a certain Qin, then Qin will never give it. You are holding back. Don't worry, no matter how many medicinal materials you want, even if I have to fight with my life, I will definitely get it for you. And I will definitely give you the best quality and the lowest price. After Qin Gang hung up the phone, Aoxu next to him hurriedly asked curiously, Dad, what did Master? Why did he call you? Qin Gang, who was still trapped in excitement and couldn't help himself, took about a few seconds to recover, and said excitedly, Aoxu. We Qin family, we are going to meet the great opportunity. Aoxu asked in surprise, Dad, what great opportunity? Qin Gang was so excited that even his words were a little trembling, and said, Master has annexed Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, saying that he will let the Qin family supply him with raw materials and medicinal materials. The demand for a year is almost 1 million tons. Oh my God! Aoxu exclaimed in a dumbfounded voice, 1 million tons. Our family now has a supply of about 200,000 tons a year, right? Yes, Qin Gang said excitedly, Master asked us to supply 1 million tons a year, and our Qin family's revenue immediately doubled. Isn't this a great opportunity? Aoxu nodded repeatedly, and said with gratitude, Master has really taken good care of our family. He can think of us for everything. He has helped us so much, and don't know how to repay his kindness. Qin Gang also agreed very much and said, Master is the second parent of our Qin family. Whether the family can rise in the future depends entirely on Master. After speaking, he couldn't help but look at Aoxu, and sighed, Aoxu, Master is right, our family has had such a great kindness, and he will always take care of you like this, you have to hurry. What exactly did Aoxu's father mean? Knowing that he wanted to hold on tight, in fact, he wanted to make her act faster and make substantial progress with Master. She suddenly said with a little shame, Dad, many things are not what I want to do. After all, Master has a wife. Although I like him, I still have more than enough energy. Qin Gang nodded, and then said earnestly, Aoxu, otherwise, you will come forward to meet with Master for the supply of medicinal materials. Anyway, you are graduating this summer and you should enter the internship period soon. Now, just serve the Master's pharmaceutical factory wholeheartedly. This way you will have more opportunities to get along with him. Aoxu thought for a moment, then nodded immediately, Okay Dad. Like Nanako, she is already in her senior year this year. There are basically no classes in the next semester of the senior year. After the Chinese New Year, she will enter the internship period. At that time, almost all senior students will find a work unit to start an internship, and Aoxu is no exception. She studied finance and management at the Oris Hill Institute of Finance and Economics, and she was asked to cooperate with Charlie, which happened to be a professional counterpart. Thinking of this, Aoxu couldn't help but look forward to it. She herself has always been melancholic for not having the opportunity to get along with Charlie often. If there is a work issue with Charlie in the future, it means that she will often have the opportunity to see him. This made her feel very excited. Tokyo, Japan at this moment. After Charlie's killing of chickens and monkeys, the only remaining executives of the entire Kobayashi Pharmaceutical were as honest as sheep. Ichiro also cooperated with Paul in the local commercial department in Tokyo to complete the transfer and change of the shares of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Now, 90% of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical's shares are all under the name of JX Pharmaceutical. Because the next production work of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical is of great importance, Charlie cannot leave Tokyo for the time being. He wants to ensure that all production lines of Kobayashi are successfully converted to JX Bison before leaving Japan. Therefore, the first production line to complete the conversion work is Kobayashi's Tokyo production line. Charlie asked Liang to take inventory of all the medicinal materials of Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, count all the medicinal materials that can be used to produce JX Bison, and then calculate how much other medicinal materials are needed based on the production capacity of the Tokyo production line. After counting the demand, he immediately sent the list to Qin Gang, and asked him to immediately make arrangements to prepare these medicinal materials as soon as possible, and then quickly transport them to Tokyo by air. At the same time, Liang had to count the medicinal materials needed by several other production lines, and send them to Qin Gang one after another, so that Qin Gang could prepare, and then send the prepared medicinal materials to other production bases. After doing all this, Charlie and his party, led by Ichiro, came to the luxurious flat-floor villa of the Kobayashi family in central Tokyo. Originally, Isaac had arranged a hotel for Charlie, but because of Ichiro's kind invitation, Charlie decided temporarily to stay at Ichiro's house. This flat-story villa of Ichiro's is the entire top floor of an 80-story building. The indoor construction area alone is thousands of square meters. It is extremely luxurious. It also has exclusive use of the entire roof terrace and its own helipad. Sky Infinity swimming pool can be said to be the ultimate luxury. After nightfall, Charlie took a bath and called his wife Claire to report that he was safe. Then he stood alone on the large terrace on the top floor, watching the bustling night view of Tokyo, with thoughts flying. Kobayashi Pharmaceutical is a key part of his energy accumulation. If Kobayashi successfully converts all production to produce JX Bison for him, then JX Bison can be marketed worldwide in the shortest time. Moreover, Charlie had already figured it out clearly that the price of his Bison scattered in the domestic market would never be increased, and to give back to the domestic people with the greatest cost-effectiveness, but the price overseas must soar. The selling price of retail terminals should be at least 2 to 3 times higher than RMB 100. That is about 60 a box. In this way, the net profit of each box is at least 30s. Since JX Bison can greatly relieve and treat many stomach diseases and discomforts, it will definitely become an essential medicine for every family in the future. Therefore, Charlie estimates that JX's future income will increase rapidly at a rapid rate. Maybe it can make tens of billions a year, and it's still in USD. If you develop a few other categories, it will really make a huge profit. Charlie is not a greedy person. The main reason why he can't wait to make more money is that he hopes to improve his overall strength as soon as possible. The parents' grievances have not yet been repaid. The many East Cliff families that formed the anti-Wade alliance led by the Sua family back then had to pay the price for the death of his parents. Even the Wade family bears an unshirkable responsibility in this matter. Charlie knows very well that if he wants to oppose the entire East Cliff family and make them surrender to him, the first thing is to improve his strength. If one day, he can return to East Cliff as the raptor crosses the river, then all East Cliff's families will tremble in front of him. Kyoto City is hundreds of kilometers away from Tokyo. The huge mansion with a century-old history of the Ito family is located in the center of Kyoto City. The Ito family residence is next to Nijo Castle, the residence of Oda Nobunaga, one of the three masters of the Warring States period in Japan. Although the area is slightly smaller than Nijo Castle, the overall area is larger than the largest single-family villa in East Cliff. Even much more. Around the mansion, there is a moat dug during the war, and it still bears the responsibility of guarding the mansion. On the city wall, 360-degree surveillance with no dead ends was installed to ensure that this mansion would not be violated by anyone. And behind the towering city walls are bodyguards with live ammunition. The buildings in the mansion are all typical Japanese-style wooden buildings. Each one has a history of at least 100 years. There are dozens of ancient trees with a history of 100 years in the courtyard, plus those modeled and countless. The century-old stone sculptures are antique and full of charm. At this moment, in the large courtyard, a beautiful young woman is sitting alone in a wheelchair, looking up at the hazy sky. This beauty is the eldest lady of the Ito family, Nanako. She is waiting for the first snow this year in Kyoto. In the past, the snow in Kyoto would come a little earlier, but this winter is an exception. Although the winter of this year was cold, and every day was extremely cold, but no snow fell. Earlier today, the Kinki Regional Meteorological Department issued a heavy snow warning, saying that it will be heavy snow in Kyoto tonight, and Nanako loves snowing days, so she waited early in the yard. However, after waiting till late at night, there was still no trace of the heavy snow, the sky was very cloudy, there was no starlight, and even the moon could not be seen clearly. The housekeeper of Ito Mansion looked at Nanako from a distance for a long time. Seeing that it was late, he walked over and respectfully said, "Miss, it's late. It seems that the snow will not fall tonight, the weather's too cold, you should go back to your room and rest earlier." Nanako looked at the hazy moon in the sky and whispered softly, "Since the weather forecast has said, there is still some hope after all. You should go back to rest first and leave me alone." The housekeeper sighed slightly, and said distressedly, "Miss, or go back to rest first, I will arrange for someone to wait here, if it snows, let them notify you as soon as possible." Nanako smiled lightly and said, "I'm here to watch. I just want to see the first snowflake falling from the sky, and I want to feel the first snowflake on my face. I have waited for the snow to fall. If I go in now, I will lose the fun." The housekeeper hurriedly said, "But now it is cooling down, the temperature is getting lower and lower, and you will catch a cold if you stay outdoors for a long time." "It doesn't matter," Nanako said with a smile, "I will wait until 12 o'clock, no matter whether it is snowing or not, I will go back to my room to soak in a hot spring. You can rest assured, although I am injured, I still have relatively strong physical fitness. The temperature is colder, it will not have any effect on me." The housekeeper nodded helplessly, and said respectfully, "I'm nearby. Miss, call me whenever you have any needs." Nanako chuckled softly, "Okay, thank you." The butler carefully retreated to the distance, and Nanako continued to look up at the sky. For some reason, Charlie's appearance suddenly appeared in the cloudy night sky at this moment. She felt like spring blossoms in her heart, and thought to herself, "Master Wade, don't know if it snows in Oris Hill? I wonder if you are looking at the night sky above your head now? Don't know, do if you will think of me?" Thinking wildly, the phone in her pocket suddenly vibrated. She took out her mobile phone and found that it was Hiroshi Tanaka who was calling, so she hurriedly put away her thoughts, connected to the phone and smiled. "Tanaka, why call me so late?" Hiroshi Tanaka sighed and said, "Miss, something happened today. The president is very angry. He just smashed a lot of antiques in the house." Nanako felt nervous, and hurriedly asked, "Tanaka, what happened? Is father having any trouble?" Koichi Tanaka said, "Today, the president took me to Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, intending to sign a share agreement with the board of directors of the company. After the agreement was signed, the president and the financial staff sent $4.5 billion to the account of the company. Then some people came in and the trouble began." When Nanako heard this, she asked in a puzzled way, "Isn't my father always wanting to invest in Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals? Today this is what he wanted, so why is he angry?" Hiroshi Tanaka said helplessly, "Before the president, the financial staff made the payment, we didn't know that company had actually changed hands." "Changed ownership?" Nanako asked in surprise, "What's the matter? Didn't it mean that Jiro is missing? Is he back again?" "No," Koichi Tanaka explained, "it's not Jiro who is back, but Jiro's brother, who is said to have been dead, suddenly came back alive." "Hey?" Nanako said with a bit of sorrow, "What's the matter? Why am I getting more and more confused?" "Hey," Hiroshi Tanaka sighed and said, "This is nothing. The point is that Ichiro, as the sole heir of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, transferred all the shares of Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, 90% that is to be exact, to a Chinese company called JX Pharmaceuticals." Nanako was surprised and said, "Isn't my father investing in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical for 30%? Then Ichiro only has Kobayashi Pharmaceutical 70% shares. How can he transfer 90% of the shares of the company?" Hiroshi Tanaka said in a stunned voice, "This is the reason why the president is angry. He signed a share agreement with Masayoshi, the acting president of pharmaceuticals, and paid after the signing, but Ichiro is back, which means the equity agreement signed by Masayoshi is invalid." Nanako nodded slightly and said, "So, my father's plan to buy a stake in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical has been lost? It's more than an intention to fail." Tanaka sighed. "The chairman of JX Pharmaceutical clearly told the president that ITO Co. Limited remitted the $4.5 billion to Kobayashi Pharmaceutical, he will not refund." "Ah!" Nanako exclaimed, "How come there is such a shameless person? The act of holding shares is an equity transaction. When we pay, the other party must pay the corresponding shares. If the other party is unwilling to pay the shares, then it must return the money the same way, and even paying liquidated damages. Why did the other party not give us shares and deduct our money? This is too much, right? Doesn't he know law?" Koichi Tanaka said very depressedly at this time, "Miss, the other party is simply an extrajudicial fanatic." "Extrajudicial fanatic?" Nanako frowned. With the character of her father, it is impossible to be willing to suffer from this dumb loss, right? Does he have no countermeasures? Hiroshi Tanaka sighed. Of course the president is not willing to suffer from this dumb loss. He originally wanted to fight the other party desperately, but he was persuaded by me. The president can't offend him. Oh, right, speaking of it. You even know this person, Missy. I know? Nanako asked in surprise, who is he? Koichi Tanaka said, that's Aoxu's coach, Charlie Wade, who injured Mr. Yamamoto Kazuki with one palm. What? Master Wade? When Nanako heard this, she exclaimed in excitement, and blurted out, Master Wade has come to Japan. Hiroshi Tanaka didn't expect that after hearing the news of Charlie's arrival in Japan, the young lady's voice suddenly would become extremely excited. He couldn't help but secretly said, isn't what I said just now is not clear enough? This Charlie is cheating your father for 4.5 billion. Why do you seem to be excited when you hear that he is coming to Japan? However, Koichi Tanaka naturally did not dare to ask this question. At this time, Nanako saw that he did not respond, and hurriedly asked him, Tanaka, answer me quickly. Master Wade really came to Japan? Koichi Tanaka can only honestly say, yes, miss, he came to Japan, he's in Tokyo, I saw him today. Nanako asked, he came to Japan, did you see him in Kobayashi Pharmaceutical? Yes. Hiroshi Tanaka answered truthfully, don't know if the situation is too specific, but it should be to take Kobayashi Pharmaceutical. Nanako felt a little regretful, and thought to herself, if Master Wade came to Japan just to receive Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals, then he should only stay in Tokyo for a few days. After the business is finished, I am afraid he will return to China. He certainly won't come to Kyoto, then I definitely won't have the chance to see him. Thinking of this, Nanako suddenly had a very strong idea in his heart. She wanted to go to Tokyo, she wanted to see Charlie. So she hurriedly asked Koichi Tanaka, Tanaka, do you know Master Wade will stay in Tokyo for a few days? Hiroshi Tanaka said awkwardly, Miss, don't know this too well. Nanako hurriedly said, I'll let steward prepare and take the car to Tokyo tomorrow morning. Back to Tokyo? Tanaka asked, Miss, didn't you always want to cultivate your body in Kyoto? Why do you suddenly want to come back at this time? Is it for Mr. Charlie? Yes. Nanako blurted out without thinking, I want to see Master Wade, if I don't come back, I'm afraid there will be no chance. Tanaka Hiroshi suddenly realized that something seemed to be wrong. He couldn't help thinking in his heart, the eldest lady has always been extremely reserved, and has never been confused because of any opposite S3X. But now, she is very excited about the news that Charlie came to Tokyo, and even plans to return to Tokyo to see him tomorrow morning. This is really abnormal. Could it be? Could it be that the eldest lady is already stunned by Charlie? When Tanaka Hiroshi thought of this, his whole person was already shocked. He secretly said, the eldest lady has always admired superior martial arts masters, and Charlie is also a master of masters. His strength is so staggering that she is really tempted by him. It makes sense. But, the president is a complete nationalist. He has made it clear that he will marry a young lady in the future to someone from Japan, and she must not marry a man from any country. If the lady really likes Charlie, if it is known by the president, he will definitely be angry. At this point, Tanaka Hiroshi hurriedly said, Miss, I can't do anything. Nanako asked in surprise, why Tanaka? Hiroshi Tanaka blurted out, if the president knows that you have a deep love for Mr. Charlie, he will definitely be very angry. Not only will he not see Mr. Charlie, but you may also even be forbidden by the president, and he may make faster your marriage plan. Although Nanako and Koichi Tanaka were separated by the phone, she blushed instantly at his words. She vaguely explained, "Tanaka, you misunderstood, I didn't, not to Mr. Charlie. Heart is born, love." Hiroshi Tanaka sighed, "Miss, I have served the Ito family for many years and have been by your side for a long time. I still know you very well. You don't have to hide things from me, and I don't want to explore your privacy. The key is, if you can see your thoughts from the bottom of the page, the president will have the eyes of a torch, and it will be impossible to hide it. You will not see Mr. Charlie, but will leak your thoughts in front of the president." This. Nanako was speechless. She knew that Koichi Tanaka was out of good intentions, so he reminded her. She also knows that her father, Ito Yuhiko, would never allow herself to have any possibility of development with foreign men. He has made it clear to her countless times that he can only accept that she will marry a Japanese in the future, and it is purely Japanese, not even someone of Japanese descent. As for the others, even the immigrants from China and the Korean peninsula 100 or 200 years ago and those who have lived in Japan for 3 or 4 generations are not purely Japanese in his eyes. Just like the chairman of the SoftBank group that invested in Alibaba, Sun Masayoshi, although he is the richest man in Japan, in the eyes of Ito Takehiko, he is not Japanese at all. Because Sun Masayoshi's grandfather's generation was originally from Daegu, South Korea. Many years ago, Sun Masayoshi was born and raised in Japan when he immigrated from Daegu, South Korea to Japan to work as a miner. In the eyes of most people, he is already a standard Japanese. However, in the eyes of a nationalist like Takehiko Ito, Sun Masayoshi can only be regarded as a Korean Japanese at best. This is like Americans who treat Chinese Americans like Chinese. Even if Chinese Americans have American citizenship, they are still regarded as Chinese in the eyes of some Americans. It is precisely because Nanako knows her father very well that she is afraid of her hasty decision. Koichi Tanaka is right. If she suddenly returns to Tokyo and insists on meeting Charlie, Ito Yuhiko will definitely be very angry, and may even impose a foothold on Nanako, or even directly interfere with her freedom of marriage. Find her a marriage partner and force her to marry. Thinking of this, Nanako was extremely disappointed, and she murmured, "Thank you, Tanaka, I understand." Hiroshi Tanaka hurriedly asked, "Miss, will you return to Tokyo tomorrow?" Nanako bit her lower lip lightly and remained silent for a long time. Then she said sadly, "I don't want to go back, so as to avoid accidents. It won't be good if I trouble Master Wade." Hiroshi Tanaka breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Mrs. Wise, now the president is very annoyed with Mr. Charlie. If it weren't for the cooperation of the Sui family at the moment, the president would have thought of a way to deal with him. If you come to Tokyo to meet Mr. Charlie at this time, you will definitely add fuel to the fire." Nanako whispered, full of loss, "I know, Tanaka. Besides, can I ask you something?" Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, "Miss, if you have anything to do, please give orders." Nanako said, "If father's conflict with Master Wade intensifies, Please, Tanaka must stop my father, and don't do anything to hurt Master Wade because of his urgency." Hiroshi Tanaka said embarrassingly, "Miss, to be honest, Mr. Charlie now has President's $4.5 billion US. Even if you like him, you can't turn your elbow out." Nanako said very seriously, "I am not trying to protect Master Wade, but to protect my father. The Ito family is not Master Wade's opponent. If Master Wade is offended, there will be a disaster." Nanako knew very well that Charlie's strength was far beyond his own. After being injured, Mr. Yamamoto Kazuki once said that Charlie's abolition of his palm was not just Abnera force, but with the internal energy mentioned in Chinese martial arts, which really destroyed his muscles and veins. It is this kind of inner strength. Yamamoto Kazuki has also come into contact with some ninjutsu masters. Although his actual combat ability is much worse than that of ninjutsu masters, at least he can perform a few tricks under the hands of ninjutsu masters, unlike in front of Charlie. There is nothing to resist. It can be seen that Charlie's strength is even far above that of ninjutsu masters. It was when Nanako recognized this, she knew clearly that neither her father nor the Ito family was necessarily Charlie's opponent. However, Yuhiko Ito was not aware of this level. He just felt that Charlie's strength was better than Yamamoto Kazuki, and better than his two personal bodyguards, but if you really want to compare with ninjutsu masters, Charlie must be a bit inferior. After hearing Nanako's words, Hiroshi Tanaka was embarrassed and said hurriedly, "Miss, I understand what you mean. Please rest assured, if the President has a conflict with Mr. Charlie, I will definitely find a way to persuade him." Nanako gave a hum, then sighed lightly, and said, "It's okay, Tanaka, so be it. Just tell me if you have anything in time." Hiroshi Tanaka said in a hurry, "Okay, eldest lady, then I won't bother you anymore." After hanging up the phone, Nanako held the phone in both hands and looked up at the sky, feeling sad. During this period of time, she missed Charlie every day and night, looking forward to meeting him again, and at the same time, she felt that the chance of seeing him again was very slim. But she didn't expect Charlie to come to Japan. Before, Charlie was separated from her by the sea, she was on this side of the sea, and Charlie was on the other side of the sea. Now, Charlie and her are on the same land, only more than 400 kilometers apart. If she drives, she can get there in 4 or 5 hours, if she takes the Shinkansen, it will be more than 2 hours. When she thought of Charlie, who was thinking about it all night, only a few hours drive away from him, Nanako really wanted to see him. However, when she thinks about her inconvenience now, it will inevitably be known by her father when she sees him in Tokyo, and she can only give up this idea unwillingly. At this time, the dense dark clouds in the sky quietly dispersed at some point, and one after another star gradually emerged from the cloud. Nanako sighed and said to herself, "It seems that there should be no snow tonight." After that, she put away the mobile phone, controlled the wheelchair with both hands, left the deserted yard, and returned to her room. With the help of the maid, Nanako soaked in the hot spring for a while. The pain in her body is still very serious, almost 24 hours, suffering from pain all the time. Originally, the doctor advised her to wear an analgesic pump. The analgesic pump is a device that can automatically infuse fluids at a constant rate and can continuously push pain medications into her veins. Generally speaking, people who have been severely injured or who have just had an operation should wear an analgesic pump, which can relieve pain to a great extent. But Nanako has been reluctant to use it. That's because the painkillers will cause certain damage to her nerves. Once the painkillers have been used for a long time, it will be more difficult for her to recover in the future, and it is very likely that she will be an invalid who can no longer practice martial arts. Therefore, she has been clenching her teeth and insisting, relying on tenacious willpower to resist physical pain. The natural hot spring in the mansion is taken from the underground hot spring I. It is rich in minerals and rich in selenium, which is of great benefit to the body and can relieve body pain to a certain extent. But because her body is still injured, she can't soak in the hot spring for a long time, no more than 1 hour a day, so Nanako's happiest time every day is the time in the hot spring. Soaking her body in the hot spring, Nanako couldn't help but think of Charlie again. She remembered how she was looking for him in the villa area where Charlie lived with the shyness of a girl. At that time, she was nervous as a little quail in front of him. When she was at a loss, he gave Charlie a cup of milk tea in his hand, and lied that she was going to drink it, but he did not expect that he actually took a sip of the milk tea. And just before Charlie drank it, Nanako had just used that straw. That kind of indirect kissing behavior was the most ambiguous thing Nanako had done with a man since she grew up. It was also the indirect kiss that Nanako has been thinking about ever since. Thinking of Charlie's appearance, she subconsciously raised her slender fingers and wrote Charlie in traditional characters on the water. There were waves of soft water ripples on the water, but she couldn't keep any of the strokes she wrote down. It was this fleeting trace that allowed Nanako to be confident and bold, and write Charlie's name on the water again and again without leaving any traces. This night, Nanako couldn't sleep for a long time. This night, the sky in Kyoto gradually cleared. The heavy snow predicted by the meteorological department did not come. The early morning weather forecast stated that due to the impact of the air currents, the heavy snow that was originally expected to fall last night was estimated to be 2 to 3 days later than originally planned. The snow was delayed, and Nanako was somewhat regretful. She always felt that this was an expression of God's unbeauty. Thinking of Charlie, who was only a few hundred kilometers away from herself, but couldn't rush to meet him, a melancholy thought suddenly popped into her heart: perhaps, I have no relationship with Charlie. The next day, Oris Hill. Qin Gang rushed to Qin's warehouse for storing medicinal materials early in the morning and personally directed the staff to prepare the herbal medicines for Charlie. Workers at the scene began to pack the boxes in full swing, and he urged on the side, all medicinal materials must be checked manually before they are packed to ensure that the medicinal materials are not loaded incorrectly, there should be no deterioration or damage, and that the amount of medicinal materials is sufficient. Do you understood? Understood, President Qin. A group of employees hurriedly responded. Qin Gang nodded in satisfaction and continued, before this afternoon, be sure to prepare the first batch of medicines and then send them to the airport. I have already contacted the air cargo company and will take off at 10 o'clock tonight. The goods will be delivered to Tokyo. At the same time, at the Sua family residence in East Cliff. For 20 years, the old master of the Sui family held a morning meeting in the main hall of the mansion every day. This morning meeting was just like the early dynasty of the ancient emperor, and the children of the Sui family had to report to the old master the progress of various businesses in the daily morning meeting. If the father has any orders, he will also announce them at the morning meeting. The Sui family is thriving, and there are more than 30 children and relatives participating in the morning meeting. The rules at the meeting are very strict. The old master sat down on a half-meter high step, facing everyone, very carden. Children, grandchildren, and relatives sit in several rows according to their status and generation. At this time, Mr. Su was sitting on a chair like a dragon, looking at the children below the stage, and said in a carden manner, "The recent international crude oil situation continues to be turbulent and the global economic downturn has caused international import and export trade to be affected. Now many ocean shipping companies are struggling. It is a good time for our Sui family to buy bottoms and buck the trend. The cooperation with the Japanese must be accelerated. The Sui family is a big family that was born in Huizhou, but has been standing in East Cliff for a century. During the Qing dynasty, when the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom movement swept across China, the Sui family followed the red-top businessman Hu Suiyan and risked his life to transport arms and grains for the Qing army, which was appreciated by the Qing government. After that, the Sui family moved to East Cliff from Huizhou with rich accumulation and wealth. Since then, the family has been in business for generations and its strength has been at the forefront of the country. In the past few decades, the Sui family and the Wade family were fighting against each other. Under the attack of Charlie's father, Changjiang, they were already slightly tired, but after Changjiang's death at young age, the Sui family immediately stepped on the Wade family. Became the first in the country. The old master of the Sui family, named Cheng Feng Su, was named after Su Shi's famous inscription on the forest wall. As the saying goes, viewed horizontally as ridges and peaks on the sides, the distances are different. Don't know the true face of Mount Lu, only because I am on this mountain. Cheng Feng is named after this. Cheng Feng is 60 in his 70s this year. Although he is not very old, he is no longer a man in his prime age. It stands to reason that his life has been considered a success, but he is still not satisfied. He hopes to lay a solid foundation for the Sui family before he retires. At the very least, to realize the long-cherished wish of 1 is greater than 2 plus 3. Since ancient times, no one in the business field can truly dominate. The true meaning of the so-called 1 is greater than 2 plus 3 refers to the sum of the family ranked first, the overall strength is greater than the family ranked second, and the family ranked third. To be more specific, it is equivalent that the Sui family's comprehensive strength is greater than the combined strength of the Wade family and the Gu family. In this way, even if the second-ranked and third-ranked join forces to fight against them, they don't have to worry at all. Only in this way, the Sui family can truly sit back and relax. Now, the gap between the Sui family and the Wade family is indeed getting wider, but if you want to truly achieve 1 greater than 2 plus 3, there is still a gap of at least a few $100 billion in assets. Therefore, the Sui family is now actively seeking breakthroughs overseas, hoping to realize this ambition in one fell swoop. As long as this goal is achieved, East Cliff will no longer have the concept of 3 big families. Instead, it is the new pattern of the Sui family that despises the heroes. Therefore, Cheng Feng attaches great importance to this shipping business. Hearing that the old master attaches great importance to ocean transportation, one of the heirs of the Sui family couldn't help but show off in front of him. Grandpa, grandson feel that the development of the world economy has encountered considerable resistance now, and all countries have import and export trades. Great contraction. Don't know when foreign trade will fully recover. In this case, if you bet on ocean shipping, the risk is still very high. It is very likely that you will copy the bottom half of the mountain. So grandson advises you to think twice. Then go. Think twice? Cheng Feng snorted coldly and ignored him. Instead, he looked at the middle-aged man next to him and sternly reprimanded, "Fifth, how did you discipline your son? He hasn't grown well, so he dares to question here. My decision, is it true that I am useless, old, and still able to eat?" The fifth son is Holden Su, the fifth son of Mr. Su. The Su family has 5 sons and 2 daughters. Holden is the 5th son of Father Su and the last of the 7 children. The young man who just spoke was Norman Su, the youngest son of Holden. Norman is just 18 years old this year, and is considered an academic genius. Last year, he was admitted to Harvard University on his own strength. Because of his young age and the reason he has been favored at home, Norman has a strong desire to express himself. However, he used to behave in front of his parents, and he had no chance to behave in front of his grandfather. Today, he finally seized the opportunity, thinking about the old master's ideas, and debating with him, so as to show his extraordinary talents and wisdom, but did not expect, just a word, annoyed the old master soon. He was about to open his mouth to explain, but he didn't think about it. His father Holden stood up and opened his bow left and right. He drew several big blows on his face, and the corners of his mouth were full of blood. Then he roared with extreme anger, "You read, go inside you dog! Dare to question your grandfather's decision here!" Norman covered his face, the whole person aggrieved and wished to die here. He hadn't been beaten when he grew up so old, and he didn't understand why his father, who had always been doting on him, wanted to suck him into death after one sentence angered his grandfather. Moreover, it is still in front of the entire family. At this time, Holden hates this son who is not growing. He was very aware of the coercion of the old master, even his elder brothers he did not dare to stand up to the old master, let alone his ineffective little son. It's not so popular. It is very possible that his words will be completely beaten by the old master in the future, and after graduation from university, he will not even have the opportunity to return to Su's home to work. The reason why the old master Cheng Feng is so hegemonic and authoritarian is greatly related to his growth experience. When he was young, he had many brothers. At that time, it was still in the Qing dynasty. His father not only had many children from 7 wives. He gave birth to more than 30 children, including 23 sons alone. And Cheng Feng was just one of these 23 sons. Just like the ancient prince seizing the first-in-law, Cheng Feng had been fighting openly and secretly with 22 brothers since he was a child. After fighting for 50 years, he finally inherited the position of Sui family patriarch. Therefore, 50 years of constant fighting made his temperament extremely domineering and cruel. If someone threatens his cardin, even if it is his son or grandson, he will never tolerate it. Norman was young and ignorant, and with the aura of genius, he dared to confront old Sud to find a sense of existence. In everyone's eyes, this action was no different from looking for death. Holden even slapped Norman dozens of slaps, and he almost couldn't stand to faint. Grandpa Sud snorted and said, "Okay, don't beat him, let someone take him out, we continue the meeting." Holden's heart was bleeding a long time ago, but the old master didn't speak, he didn't dare to stop. Seeing that the old master finally spoke, he put his hands away and suppressed the distress in his heart, and yelled at the servant standing next to him, "Hurry up and get this unfilial son out of my face." Several people immediately stepped forward and dragged out Norman, who was vomiting blood, dizzy and tinnitus. The old master so cleared his throat and continued, "This cooperation with the Japanese will not only win at least 20% of the operating rights of Tokyo Port, Yokohama Port, and Osaka Port, but also let them provide at least no less than for all kinds of cargo ships and oil tankers with a displacement of 3 million tons. Whoever has the most resources will have the opportunity to become one of us. Therefore, when going to Japan this time, we must take a good look at the true strengths of Ito and Takahashi. In addition, we must force the two of them to use the most resources." The eldest son Zin blurted out, "Father, don't know who you plan to let these two Japanese families cooperate with this time?" Elder Su was silent for a moment, and then said, "Zin, you are the eldest son and grandson, and it is time for you to take the lead. This time, you will take the lead." Zhai Fei, the eldest grandson of Su, and the eldest son of Zin, is 28 years old this year and is the most outstanding male heir of the Su family. Upon hearing that he was selected, Zhai Fei immediately stood up and said firmly, "Please rest assured, I will go all out." Elder Su nodded lightly, and his eyes fell on the beautiful and glamorous girl beside Zhai Fei. It was also at this moment that the old master's eyes were finally not so hard. Instead, he was replaced by a somewhat pampering look. He smiled and said, "Xiu, you will graduate from Yale soon. It's also time to go out and exercise. This time you will follow your brother, learn more, watch more, and accumulate some experience." The beautiful and glamorous girl stood up, bowed slightly, her expression was not lukewarm, her eyes were lukewarm, her tone was neither salty nor free of salt, and said, "Okay, Grandpa, I will." When the old master announced that Zhai Fei and Xiu would go to Japan together, their father Zin's expression became a little proud. In his opinion, the father gave such an important matter to his sons and daughters, which is evidence that he is the eldest son and is most trusted by the father. The other heirs are full of envy and jealousy. The old master wants to train Zhai Fei, and everyone has no opinion on this. After all, Zhai Fei is the eldest son and grandson. If placed in ancient times, this is the standard crown prince. No matter how strong other princes are, they must bow their heads when they see the eldest son and grandson. However, let Zhai Fei go for exercise, and also take Xiu along with him. This is really a bit too eccentric. Under normal circumstances, if you encounter such a thing, you should let the eldest son and grandson take the lead, and then from the second, third, fourth, and even fifth family, choose one or two younger generations who are agile and capable of training and let them follow the eldest son. The eldest grandson went out to meet the world together. However, he never expected that in addition to the eldest grandson in the eyes of the old master, there is only the eldest granddaughter he spoils the most. In other words, this is tantamount to the old master showing his position. Except for the eldest grandson, all the other grandsons, in his eyes, are not as good as Xiao's female stream. This can make other families feel extremely uncomfortable. Everyone in East Cliff knows that the Sui family is thriving. The old master had 22 brothers and a dozen sisters back then. In his line, he still has 13 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. But who could have expected that in his eyes, the eldest granddaughter Xiao was the most favored? The reason is that the old master has always been strict in his requirements and management of the male heirs of the family, so he and his sons and grandsons have always had a black face. But the old master is also immortal, and there is softness in his heart. He can't show the soft side to his son and grandson, so he gives the soft side to his granddaughter. In addition, Xiao has been smart since she was a child, and she has been loved by her grandfather. In front of others, the grandfather is a demon with decisiveness, an extraordinary spirit, and an arrogant personality, but in front of his granddaughter, he is an ordinary, kind, and doting younger generation lover. In fact, the degree of doting the old master has for Xiao can be seen from the name of Xiao. The juniors of the Sui family are known for their generation. Haifei's name is meant to know right and wrong and not to make detours. The name of each grandchild can be said to be full of the admonition and vigilance of Grandpa Sui to his grandchildren. Only Xiao. The old master gave her this name, which means the joy of knowing fish. In Zhuangzi Autumn Water, a conversation between Huizi and Zhuangzi is recorded. Huizi said that Zi is not a fish, and he knows the joy of fish. The old master named her Xiao, hoping that she can be happy, simple and happy. Since she can know the joy of fish, she can naturally know the joy of man. It can be said that Father Su's incomparable love for Xiao is everywhere. It is precisely because of this that the entire young talents of East Cliff are full of desire for Xiao. Solving Xiao is not just a glamorous super beauty, a super schoolmaster who has stayed in the United States all year round and received the world's top high-end education, it is also equivalent to the entire Sui family. Someone joked that whoever marries Xiao may obtain a huge wealth of up to trillions. After the old master Cheng Feng announced his decision, he said to his eldest son Xin, you and Haifei and Xiao should hurry up to discuss a general plan, and then hurry up to prepare for the journey. The sooner the better. Xin immediately stood up and said respectfully, Father, rest assured, I will discuss a plan with the two of them as soon as possible, and strive to leave for Japan tonight. Cheng Feng nodded and exhorted, as long as this kind of choice is made, it is particularly important who we contact first. Although the Ito family and the Takahashi family have fallen a bit due to the overall recession of the Japanese economy over the years, their overall strength is still very strong in Japan. Stay at the forefront, and you must carefully decide which one to contact first. Xin said immediately, Good father, we will start the discussion right away and report the results to you as soon as possible. Cheng Feng smiled with satisfaction and said, Xin, 18 years ago, you won Changjing and became the most dazzling one among the younger generation of East Cliff, but in the past 18 years, you have not been able to achieve greater glory. Of course, you are not to blame. It is our family who has never encountered any decent opponents in China over the years. Speaking of this, Cheng Feng sneered, stood up, and fervently said, the domestic market has no room for incremental growth. If we want to continue to grow, we must go abroad, go to sea, and develop into the ocean. Otherwise, the veteran families in the West, including Rothschilds, will still pop out and disgust us at odds and ends. Therefore, this ocean-going strategy is a good opportunity for the Sui family to create new brilliance, and it is also a good stage for you to lay a higher achievement. If this battle is fought beautifully, I can be considered to be consummated, and I can retreat with peace of mind to enjoy the family happiness. By then, you will be the patriarch of the Sui family. When Xin heard this, he bowed deeply and shouted loudly, Father, rest assured, Xin will do his best. Create new glory for the Sui family. After the meeting, Xin returned to his mansion with a pair of children with excitement. As soon as he got home, he called his son and daughter to the study, and said with a high spirit, My children, this time is a good opportunity for our family to make new achievements in the Sui family. You two are going to Japan this time. We must get the best terms of cooperation. Whether we choose the Ito family or the Takahashi family in the end, we must compress their interests to the extreme and strive for the greatest benefit for our Sui family. Zhai Fei immediately said, Dad, when we go to Japan this time, should we first contact the Ito family or the Takahashi family? Xin asked, What do you think? Zhai Fei said, I think it's best to contact the Ito family first, because the Ito family is strong in Tokyo and Kyoto. Tokyo has the port of Tokyo, and there are Osaka port and Nagoya port near Kyoto. In theory, the Ito family is in ports and shipping have greater potential. Yezin nodded slightly, and said approvingly, Your point of view is very reasonable, and I also tend to contact the Ito family first. Zaidu frowned and said in a lukewarm tone, Dad, brother, I think we should first contact the Takahashi family. Oh? The two looked at Zaidu, and Xin asked, Zaidu, why do you think so? Faced with the questions of father and brother, Zaidu answered calmly, First of all, although the Ito family has strong resources in Tokyo, and also has good strength in Osaka and Nagoya, Japan's real super seaport is actually next to Tokyo. The port of Yokohama. Although the Takahashi family is slightly inferior to the Ito family in Tokyo, they are very tough in Yokohama. It can be said that Yokohama is the base camp of the Takahashi family. Secondly, the Ito family is somewhat troubled now. Ito Yuhako's daughter was seriously injured while participating in an international sanda competition in Oris Hill some time ago and is currently recuperating. Ito himself loves this daughter very much. The physical condition of the daughter will more or less distract him. Once this person's energy is not full, focusing on our work 100% will have an impact on our cooperation. Even if the impact is only 1%, it is a real impact. Xin frowned. Ito Yuahiko's daughter was injured? I have never heard of this. Zaidu said lightly, I asked someone to investigate the situation of these two companies, including their families' children. The eldest brother's Haifei couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Zaidu, you still think about the problem most. All round. Zaidu said without a wave, Brother, don't slap me here anymore. You will be the one who will be alone in the future. I will just help you think about it temporarily. Zhai Fei said with a smile, Having such a good sister, I will really worry about it in the future. Xiao gave him a blank look and said, one more thing, I have heard that the Ito family had previously wanted to invest in a Japanese pharmaceutical company named Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals. This matter will also distract his energy to a certain extent. Zhai Fei nodded, I know that company, Kobayashi Vison, I have used it before, and the effect is really good, very powerful. That's before. Xiao said lightly, now, there is a JX Vison in China, which has surpassed them in product strength. Oh, Zhai Fei said with a smile, I have a hunch that JX Pharmaceutical will soon emerge. It will catch up with Kobayashi Pharmaceuticals first, and eventually catch up. At this point, Zhai Fei seriously suggested, if possible, I think it's a good opportunity to invest in JX Pharmaceutical now. It's possible that there will be more than 10 times the return on investment in a few years. Xin waved his hand and said, no matter how big the pharmaceutical company is, it will be worth 100 billion. It's very big, we still focus on the bigger market and opportunities. This ocean-going project is the key to the internationalization of the Sui family. Xiao wanted to say something, but she swallowed it to her lips and nodded and said, get back to the subject, Dad, which one do you think we should contact first? I still think that Ito Uehiko has internal and external troubles, and other things involve energy, or the Takahashi family as a whole is more appropriate. Xin looked towards Zhai Fei asked, Zhai Fei, what do you think? Zhai Fei immediately said, if you listen to people persuading you to eat a full meal, I think you should listen to Xiao. After all, those who investigate have the right to speak. Xin nodded with satisfaction, and said with a smile, you two brothers and sisters are the most outstanding among your peers. If you two work together, you must be famous throughout the country, and even the world. Zhai Fei said with a smile, I don't dare to compare with Xiao. This girl is a pervert. At the age of 22, she is mentally mature and like 44. I really don't know what kind of person I have to find in the future to be cured. Xiao glared at him and said angrily, I want you to worry about my business? Think about yourself first. You have been in love with that Sarah for so long, when are you going to confess to her? Zhai Fei with a big embarrassment, he blurted out, don't talk nonsense. Sarah and I are acquaintances, not even friends. Of course. Xiao snorted, and said contemptuously, you meet someone. Even if you can't speak well, of course even friends can't do it. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.